On November 18, 2017, the Golden State Warriors were playing a normal regular season game against the young Philadelphia 76ers. With something to prove, the Sixers came out blazing hot, scoring 47 points in the first quarter and went into the half with a 22-point lead. They were hitting every shot, and it looked like it was just the Sixers' night. But in the third quarter alone, the Warriors reminded everyone why they were so dangerous, as Steph Curry scored 17 points in 3 minutes, and the Warriors outscored the Sixers by 32 points. Yup, you heard that right. This run is a microcosm of something all teams dreaded. Once the third quarter hit, teams knew the Warriors were going to go on a run and couldn't do anything to stop it. So what is it about the third quarter that made the Warriors so unstoppable? To really understand how scary the third quarter Warriors were, here's a general trend in point differential for teams from 2015 to 2023. More teams were in the negative, but as you start going up, some teams might surprise you like the Charlotte Hornets or the Toronto Raptors, and as you'll keep going, you'll notice that the Utah Jazz actually have the second highest point differential at 832 points, pretty good for a team that you wouldn't call the most dominant. And then you have the Golden State Warriors all the way up there with a point differential of 1,862, more than double any other team in that 8-year span. But what exactly makes this possible? Now you're probably thinking it's because the Warriors have a ton of talent or they make incredible adjustments, and while that is true, there's a few subtle factors that create this huge domino effect. If you watched a Warriors game during this time, you might remember a game similar to the Sixers one. The opposing team wants to throw an early punch and comes out of the gates firing on all cylinders. The Warriors turn the ball over a bit and then go into halftime down by a decent margin. But in the third quarter, the Warriors defense starts to pick up, the offense really starts to roll, and in just 12 minutes, they have sealed the game. The main question I'd always come away with was, why can't the Warriors do this earlier? From the film, sometimes it looks like they're just coasting and then turn it up. Other times it looks like they're trying to feel the game out, and that'll help them dictate how they want to play for the rest of the game. And that's when you realize that the Warriors had an insane competitive advantage. The reason the Warriors can afford to feel the game out is because their offense was so different than everyone else's. Their unlimited range and motion gave them the versatility that other teams didn't have. Their best scorers, Curry and Clay, were very dangerous off the ball, and they paired that with a great point forward in Draymond Green. And with their endurance, every game with the Warriors turned into a marathon. In the first half, teams had the energy and discipline to keep up with Curry. Danny Green does a good job staying with Steph, and on this tricky screen, Siakam continues to chase Thompson, which leaves Green with a one-on-one against Kawhi. Then later in the first, Curry smartly sets a screen for Livingston to go backdoor, but Ibaka is there to cover it, so Curry relocates to the other side and then tries to run a two-man game with Looney in the corner, but Green and VanVleet stick with him and contest the shot. However, as the game goes on, the discipline to do this over and over again becomes really difficult. On this one, Curry runs up to set that same back screen, and Gasol doesn't see it in time to help, so Draymond gets an easy layup. With both Curry and Thompson willing to run, they stretched out the defense as much as possible, and considering that they only needed a slither of space to shoot the ball, it became really hard for teams to keep up with them for 48 minutes. However, what really made the difference is Curry's ability to also score in isolation. While Curry is the best shooter ever, he's a complete offensive player because he can put the ball on the floor. This truly allowed the Warriors to really play in whatever style they needed to win. The motion and ball movement usually meant quicker possessions with back cuts and easy shots, and the ISO game allowed them to play slower and more methodically to find open shots. This is why the Warriors have the luxury to feel the game out compared to other teams. While their motion offense is the default, they have the ability to adjust when teams take that away. A good example would be Game 7 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals when Durant was still on the OKC Thunder. When the Warriors had run their motion offense, the Thunder had done a really good job denying Curry, which left other guys having to take shots. But when Curry initiated the offense, The Thunder's bigs had switched out on him, and he had made them pay a few times. So starting the third quarter, the Warriors put the ball in Curry's hands and had a mismatch hunt because they knew the Thunder were willing to switch. So Curry went to work, ISOing against Steven Adams, and drilled 3 straight threes to give Golden State the lead. Because he was cooking, the Thunder were forced to double Curry in the pick and roll, and that then opened up great shots for everyone else. With 2 guys on Curry, the Warriors had a 4-on-3 advantage and were able to generate more great shots, and all of a sudden, the Warriors had an 11-point lead. But unlike Golden State, other teams couldn't completely change their style if things went awry. In the pace and space era, most teams play relatively the same. They have 1 or 2 primary ball handlers that they rely on to create offense for everyone else. And the Warriors were more than okay with teams playing like that because they knew it wasn't sustainable for an entire game.
We felt in our game plan was to let James Harden do everything that he's going to do. We're probably not going to stop him, and that's fine. But we're going to stop everyone else. And then James is going to get tired because he's dribbling the ball 32 times per possession. I don't care how good a shape you in, I don't care who you are. That is taxing.
The Rockets received the most criticism for playing that ISO ball style, but the reality is that this applied to basically every other team in the league. The Warriors' ability to switch screens really made it hard to run your go-to plays, which essentially forced them to play one-on-one. The issue with playing ISO ball is that you need to get to the rim to really break the defense down. And if you have to do that over and over again, the fatigue then starts to set in. So by the second half, teams would continue to ISO, but would then settle for mostly outside shots. And that then creates a snowball effect that we saw during their dynasty. Teams get frustrated that they can't score, the Warriors start running to create another small advantage, and guys forget that they need help as Clay gets a layup. A few possessions later, the Warriors do a great job keeping everything in front, so Pritchard then has to force up a long 3. With Boston trying to get settled, Curry runs a quick pick and roll, and Tice doesn't step up high enough even though it's a deep shot. What has often been understated is Curry and Clay's competitive stamina. They always kept their energy up because they knew that teams wouldn't be able to keep up with them as the game went on. There's already such a small margin of error when defending 2 elite sharpshooters, and that becomes a bigger issue when you aren't as mentally sharp as the first half. The biggest issue is that opponents couldn't really figure out how to dictate the pace of the third quarter. Because the Warriors can play fast or slow, teams didn't know what was the best course of action. Do you play fast to try and generate easy shots with the risk of Golden State getting out in transition and hitting open threes? Do you play slow to shorten the game, but then run the risk of not getting a good shot? These were some of the hard decisions that teams had to make because they didn't have the offensive flexibility that Steph Curry really offers. This is why the idea of adjustments is a bit overstated in this phenomenon. Yes, adjustments are extremely important, and all teams make them to gain small advantages, but the reality is that adjustments itself will not elevate a team to this sort of level, especially when there's only so many that you can make. Most adjustments are made to really help you on a micro level. If you saw a play that beats you in the first half, you will then make an adjustment to make sure it doesn't happen again. But it has to be the coherent system and unique talent that makes this third quarter effect possible for such a long time. And that unique talent wasn't just the shooting, but the ability to play in different ways. Curry and Clay's ability to play off ball and on ball gave the team numerous options to pivot to if something wasn't working. Draymond's ability to play point guard and defend all 5 positions allowed the Warriors to switch screens and force teams to ISO for almost an entire game. So, their personnel made it easy for them to come out with a game plan and allowed them to make changes on the fly. And when you put all that together, you get a team that created one of the most incredible anomalies we'll probably ever see. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please feel free to like and subscribe. Appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.